It's showtime. Hello, Deborah. How are you? Oh, many blessings on you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for the book club. So sorry I couldn't make it last week. I was covered in hives, and I'm actually still dealing with the hives, which is why I'm all puffy with prednisone. But they're getting better. And it turns out that it was stress. So, I'm eliminating the stress and things are doing well. Lawrence is in the house. Hey, Lawrence, good to see you. We have Mary Lou with us this evening.
Hi there.
And of course, we have the dogs. And I just wanted to open with a quick prayer for Jason. He is going to be seeing the cardiologist on March 3rd. So, Lawrence is such a sweetie. He says, even hives cannot hide your goddess-like beauty. Hey, and Kevin is here. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so we're going to let the dog chew on the bone and offer up a quick prayer to Jason. For his appointment coming up on, and Justin is in the house, right on. Lord God, we are gathered here this evening for the book club, and we just want to give a quick impromptu prayer for Jason. He's got his cardiologist appointment coming up on the 3rd, and we just want you to surround him with healing energy, give his doctors supernatural insight into what's going on with him, so that he may find the treatment and the medicines that he needs to get better so he can be with us for a long, long time, as is your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So, Shell's here. Shell says, wrong one. Shell says hi to you, Mary Lou. Logic is here. Logic Rex. Yep. Amen. Amen. And amen. Wow. All right. So we are doing Jordan Peterson still. Oh, Deborah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, yeah. We do this on Thursdays. I know we didn't do it last Thursday, but we do it this Thursday, and you doggies know to be quiet, and except Sam has a phone. So this will be a fun evening. We are on page 94 in the hardbound version of 12 Rules for Life. That's rule number 4, which is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to somebody else today. So, and I think I'm just going to start at the top of page 94. I think we're repeating a little bit, but I think that's all right. So we say, here's a hint. The future is like the past, but there's a crucial difference. The past is fixed, but the future, it could be better. It could be better some precise amount, the amount that can be achieved perhaps in a day with some minimal engagement. The present is eternally flawed. Hey, Shaman's here. Hi, Shaman. Good to see you. So the present is eternally flawed. Isn't that interesting? We can change the future. We can't change the past, but the present is eternally flawed. That's kind of an odd thing. But where you start might not be as important as the direction you are heading. And this is in italics. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill, not in the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting at the next peak. So, hey, survival's in the house. I missed you earlier. Sorry, Survival. So mega love shout out. That's it. To the Pam fam. We got a good gang going tonight. Right on. Much of happiness is hope, no matter how deep the underworld in which that hope was conceived. Now, I actually had a long conversation with Mr. Greg Kelly today about hope. Mega love shout out. And that, I was in a period in my life when hope was actually a liability, because what they would tell me, I was sick at the time and I was in a lot of pain and, a lot of despair about that pain. And so they'd say, oh, well, we have this medicine. Have you tried this medicine? No, I haven't tried that medicine yet. Okay, well, we're going to try this medicine. We think this one is going to work. We think this one is going to do it. And so, it'd be like a month that I'd be on this medicine and it wouldn't work. And my heart would be broken and my hope would be crushed. And I would almost feel worse than if I had never been given the hope in the first place. Oh, we've got Mantis in the house. Hey, Mantis. Yay. Oh, it's such a good game today. Thank you. So at some point, I just stopped hoping. I was like, okay, you're going to throw lots of medications at me. Maybe one of them will work. Maybe one of them, maybe they'll all fail, which they did end up doing. They had just all failed. And I said, I'm just going to keep going no matter what. I'm not going to try and hope. I'm not going to, pine for something that I may never get. I'm just going to, tenacity, just endeavor to persevere. And that actually, oh my goodness, can you hand me a tissue? I just opened up a wound on my arm. So there's sometimes in life where hope, and this is my experience, other people may be different because Greg vehemently disagrees with me. There are times in life when hope may not be the answer, where it may just be, grim determination to get through. So, Justice has a birthday coming up. Right on. Happy birthday, Justice. We might need to do a Justice birthday stream. That would be cool. I'll have to check my calendar. Don't let me forget, guys. We're going to see if we can do a Justice birthday stream. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to do a Justice birthday stream. Or Justice, you tell us if you want us to do a birthday stream. So that would be awesome. Because Lawrence's was a lot of fun. All right. So Jordan Peterson says, much of happiness is hope, no matter how deep the underworld in which that hope was conceived. Oh, we got a whole bunch of ones. So does that sound like a good idea to you, Justice? We'll do a birthday stream for you. So tomorrow is 4 days. That means it's on the 23rd. Yes, I have nothing going on. All right. Yes, awesome. I see Justice says, let's do a stream, Pam. Cool. Oh, and Nomi's here. All right. What time do you want to do it? You want to do it at this time, or do you want to do it a little bit later so more people can come so they can be off work? So like it's 5:39 my time. You want to make it 6 o'clock Mountain Time? Oh, fantastic. Justice says, as long as I can find the privacy and time on that day, I definitely want to spend it with you all. Yay! It's a date. We are doing a Justice Canton birthday stream. And that's, I'm right, it's on the 23rd, right? We'll do that on the 23rd. Do I have the right day? And then just tell me what time you want to do it and we'll do it then. But I know, some people actually do have jobs currently, which is amazing. So we might want to do it like after, what is it? After 5:30 Pacific time. So that would be 6:30. Okay, yeah, let's do a later stream. So you just tell me the time that you want to do it, and I'll put it in, and we will do a birthday stream. I'm going to put that right now. Come on. Stop being... Justice Catton birthday stream. Let's do it later. So say like, no, I can't type right now. 6:30. I'm just going to put that 6:30, and I'll change it later if you give me a different time. But yeah, awesome. It's a date. So yay, that'll be fun. All right. And yeah, hopefully I can get like more streamers and balloons and stuff like that this time, because bless his heart, Lawrence, it was very bare bones, but we had the Christmas decorations up and stuff like that, so at least it was a little festive. So yay, birthday streams are the best. Mega love shout out. All right, so back to the book. Called upon properly, the internal critic will suggest something to set in order, which you could set in order, which you would set in order voluntarily, without resentment, even with pleasure. Ask yourself, is there one thing that exists in disarray in your life or your situation that you could and would set straight? Now, this is something... 6 or 6:30, either one. I was hoping to set it a little bit later because I know like Survival has work and stuff like that. So I want to give people enough time to get home, and so they can actually be a part of the stream and not have to, worry about rushing or anything like that. So no worries, no worries. Oh, your signal froze up. Okay. Right on. So yeah, we'll do it 6:30, the 23rd. Is that correct? Perfect time? Great to hear it. Okay. So yeah, Justice says perfect time. All right. And then, yeah, birthday stream, 23rd. Are you Survival, are you serious that he's just turning 16 years old, or is that a joke? Because if so, Justice is the youngest in the room, the youths. So that'll be wonderful. I love it. So 22? Okay. Yeah, I thought you might be pulling my leg there. But still, that is probably the youngest in the room. So, all right. 22 is a good age. I like 22 a lot, because it was, you already had gotten that crazy 21st birthday out of your way. You weren't going to go out and get sloppy drunk. You could actually go out and celebrate your birthday. So, yeah, this will be fun. All right. So we're talking about setting something straight in your life that you would set straight, that you would voluntarily be willing to do. This is not something that you do begrudgingly, like if you don't like making up your bed, if you've got a real sort of, like little kids stomp your feet. I'm not going to make up my bed. But something that you want to fix, like, I don't like that, my clothes hamper is full of clothes that I haven't hung up yet. I'm going to put all my clothes away and stuff like that. So, yeah. Mantis says, yeah, I really like 22. Kevin says, when I was 22, got my first real job. Yep. Oh, being the baby of the family can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. I don't judge age because, it's one of those things where wisdom can come from the mouths of babes, as it were. And I don't know how old anyone is, really. So, except now I know how old Justice is. And so, yeah, you're the little brother. That's awesome. Cool. All right. It's a total day. I'm so excited now. I love parties. So, could you do it now? Imagine that you are someone with whom you must negotiate. Imagine further that you are lazy, touchy, resentful, and hard to get along with. Now, how often have I been, touchy with myself? I mean, I wouldn't walk the dogs if you didn't come over. I'm stubborn. I'm lazy. I know it's the right thing to do. The dogs love it, but I need the little extra help of Mary Lou coming over in the afternoon. And that's what gets me motivated, because I don't want to let Mary Lou down. That I can let myself down all day, no problem, but I can't let Mary Lou down. So that's how the job gets done. And that's what he's talking about here. You negotiate with yourself. With that attitude, it's not going to be easy to get moving. You might have to use a little charm or playfulness. Excuse me, you might say to yourself, without irony or sarcasm. I'm trying to reduce some of the unnecessary suffering around here, and I could use some help. Keep derision at bay. I'm wondering if there's anything that you would be willing to do. I'd be very grateful for your service. Ask honestly and with humility. That's no simple matter. Now, isn't it strange that we have to deal with ourselves with humility? That I have to be humble to myself. Doesn't that seem odd?
Yeah.
But it's so true. Because otherwise we'll just dig in our heels and not want to do it. Right. So you might have to negotiate further depending on your state of mind. Maybe you don't trust yourself. You think that you'll ask yourself for one thing, and having delivered, immediately demand more, and you'll be punitive and hurtful about it. So, like beating ourselves up. Okay, I've gotten this thing done. Now immediately do that. That's not the way to go. So, and you'll denigrate what was already offered. Who wants to work for a tyrant like that? Not you. That's why you don't do what you want yourself to do. You're a bad employee, but a worse boss. That's so interesting. Maybe you need to say to yourself, okay, I know we haven't gotten along very well in the past. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to improve. I'll probably make some more mistakes along the way, but I'll try and listen if you object, and I'll try to learn. I noticed just now today that you weren't really jumping at the opportunity to help when I asked. Is there something I could offer in return for your cooperation? Maybe if you did the dishes, we could go out for a little coffee. You like espresso? How about an espresso? Maybe a double shot. Or is there something else you want? Then you could listen. Like a lot of times I'll reward myself with watching 1 or 2 episodes of my favorite cartoons. Because that's something that's totally fun. It's self-indulgent. It doesn't have any calories, and it makes me feel good. So, then you could listen. Maybe you'll hear a voice inside. Maybe it's even the voice of a long lost child. Maybe it will reply, Really? You really want to do something nice for me? You'll really do it? It's not a trick? This is where you must be careful. That little voice, that's the voice of someone once burnt, twice shy. So you could say very carefully, really, I might not do it very well, and I might not be great company, but I will do something nice for you, I promise. A little careful kindness goes a long way, and judicious reward is a powerful motivator. Then you could take all that small bit of yourself by the hand and just do the damn dishes. And then you better not go clean the bathroom and forget about the coffee or the movie or the beer. And it will be even harder to call those forgotten parts of yourself forth from the nooks and crannies of the underworld. Now, I did a type of therapy they called EMDR. It was eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And it dealt with all your inner children. And the idea is that we often experience trauma that sets down a very deep pathway in our brain. And we get part of our personality gets locked in that age. So we have these little children that are us inside. And those are actually neural networks in the brain. And so when we run up against something where we're acting like a child, it's most likely because we're in a situation that reminds us of exactly what happened when we were that age. And so what he's talking about here, maybe you hear the voice of a little child coming back to you. He really means it. There's that inner child, and we have to be kind to ourselves as though we were a child. We can't just deal with ourselves like we're an adult all the time, because we're not always adults all the time. So I just find it fascinating that he touches on, and there's a lot of really good books out there on inner children and working with your inner child and stuff like that. So that stuff came around in the 70s, I think, is when they first started dealing with a lot of that. So we're on page 95. You might ask yourself, what could I say to someone else, my friend, my brother, my boss, my assistant, that would set things a little more right between us tomorrow? What bit of chaos might I eradicate at home, on my desk, in my kitchen, tonight, so that the stage could be set for a better play? What snakes might I banish from my closet and my mind? 500 small decisions. 500 small decisions, 500 tiny actions compose your day, today, and every day. Could you aim one or two of these at better results? 1 or 2 out of 500. That's not bad. So, Survival says, I am definitely not an adult all the time. Lawrence says he isn't either. Shell says, me neither. Justice says, we all got to play now and again. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We're never too old to have fun. So that's what Mary Lou and I do sometimes, is we'll put on music from her generation. We were listening to hits from 1964, the Motown years and stuff like that. And we play cards, and we just have a blast. It's great. So aim small. You don't want to shoulder too much to begin with, given your limited talents, tendency to deceive, burden of resentment, and ability to shirk responsibility. Thus, you set the following goal. By the end of the day, I want things in my life to be a tiny bit better than they were this morning. Then you ask yourself, really? What's going on, Free? Yeah? We're reading the book. Mantis says that she's definitely a kid. Oh, this is sweet, Justice. I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity to be here learning with you. Yeah, we're all learning together. This is so much fun. I absolutely love it. I don't know what's going on with my dachshund, though. All right. So then you ask yourself, what could I do that I would do that would accomplish that, making things better than they were this morning? I lost my space. And what would that small thing I would like what would be that small thing I would like as a reward? Then you do what you've decided to do, even if you do it badly. Then you give yourself that damn coffee in triumph. Maybe you feel a bit stupid about it, but you do it anyway. And you do the same thing tomorrow and the next day and the next. And with each day, your baseline of comparison gets a little higher, and that's magic. That's compound interest. Do that for 3 years, and your life will be entirely different. So we're talking about 365 days, changing, let's say, 2 things. So that's 6, 7, I'm going to round, about 800 things that you can change in 2 years, about 1,000 things that you change in 3 years, over 1,000. And if you did 1,000 little things, yeah, that could change your life. Your life would be absolutely different. So that was the strangest bark I have ever heard from you. I think she wants some of the blanket.
Oh, could be.
What's up? Free. You want to come here, Free? Come here, Free. Come here, Free. No, she wants his bone. You don't get his bone. That's his bone. Here, come get your bone. Don't you have a bone back here? Yeah, anyway. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So now we are at that's compound interest. Do that for 3 years and your life will be entirely different. Now you're aiming for something higher. Now you're wishing on a star. Now the beam is disappearing from your eye and you're learning to see. And what you aim at determines what you see. That is worth repeating. What you aim at determines what you see. And now we're to the next section, and I'm going to deal with the toxins are so pushy. Oh my gosh, yes, they are. Come here, Free. What do you want? Come on. Here's your bone. Free. Come here. Come here, Free. Come on. That's a good girl. Come on. Oh, no, she wants his. Come on, Free. Get your bone. Free. Come here. There you go. All right. Oh. Okay, so Mary Lou is going to head for home, so we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we will be back momentarily. We'll leave the sound on too. So, but thank you for coming over this evening. It was good to see you as usual. All right. Sam, can she have blankets? Okay, there we go. Sam, you get bone. Here's your bone. You want that one? Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, my toes are doing something funny. Oh no. All right. Let's get your coat because it is still cold outside. Oh no, your coat is up front. Is everything else up front? Yes. That's bones everywhere. No, Sam, you're gonna stay inside. Yes, ma'am. That's yours. Yeah, you usually don't come over in a heavy coat. I usually have to scold you for not being warm enough. Right, right. All right. Yes, it does. It does. Life is more fun that way. So, thank you again for coming over. Good, good, good. And we will do it again tomorrow night. Hopefully, we will both be feeling better in the knees. Yeah, it's a little dark over there. So, you know which way you're going? Not that way. Yes, ma'am. You got it. All right. And I'm going to run back to the people in the stream, so I will say goodbye to you now, madam. Have a good night. Thank you for being understanding, my wonderful Pam Pam. All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'll tell, smoke break. I'll tell everybody that she said that you said goodbye. Yeah, Solomon says thanks for coming by. Shell says good night. Mantis says have a wonderful evening. Oh yeah, foot cramp stuff. I don't know what's going on. It just top of my toes are doing something weird. But I had a migraine aura tonight. I haven't had a migraine aura in years. And so, yeah. No, Justice. We're still on. Mary Lou needed to go home. If you're not aware, Mary Lou is an Alzheimer's patient. So, whenever she wants to go home is when she goes home. So she usually likes to go home around sunset, and it's getting later and later sunset. So, so I make sure that, she knows which direction she's going from my house and stuff like that. And, she's delightful, and remembers more than she thinks she does, but she does have, little problems with memory and things like that. But it's interesting to see what she does remember and what she doesn't remember. And she does remember things that are more emotionally attached. Like one time, I told her that if she didn't come over to get me before, she used to walk the neighborhood and get lost. And her watch that she has on has GPS on it so that her kids can find her. And one time she was lost, and the GPS wasn't accurate enough for us to see that she was just right around the corner. So I told her that if she didn't come to get me before she goes on her walks, I would be very put out. And ever since then, she and I walk the dogs together. And so we just have a grand old time, walking through the neighborhood with the dogs. And she can walk both Sam and Free Free. Actually, Sam is easier for her to walk than Free Free. So yeah, she's very good company, even when I'm having a migraine or something like that, because she's so quiet. And she was a nurse for 40 years. So, but yeah, that's the story behind Mary Lou. And I don't think that her family would be upset with me sharing that. At least I hope not. Oh my gosh, I could have just made the hugest faux pas ever. So, but yeah, no, Mary Lou is a sweetheart and I love her. And yeah, and she's been to Lawrence's birthday party. She's been on a number of the streams and she loves all of you. So, it's great. I wish you could see you guys more. Hopefully we'll pull people up so that she can, actually see people's faces and stuff like that. And Manta says, "Oh, wow, that's beautiful, Pam." Oh, yeah, I think so too. She absolutely, Shaman, she was the sweetest nurse. She had an amazing reputation and like that feather light touch and the calmness. And, she was telling me a story about when she lost her temper once. I was like, you were a nurse and you only lost your temper once? That's amazing. So yeah, her son actually has a blog about her. I'll see if I can get the link for you guys next time, where he wrote about her and her husband and how they used to play pinochle all the time. And I don't know pinochle, so we just play gin. And she'll forget whose turn it is and stuff like that. Jason's in the house. I love you too, Jason. I'm glad you're here. She'll always forget whose turn it is or where she is in her turn and stuff like that. But she still kicks my butt. I will win the first hand in a run, and then she'll just wipe me out. It's absolutely amazing. So she can still play cards. She just needs to be, reminded of where we are in the process. Okay, it's time for you to draw a card. Yes, you can play something that you just picked up. So I'm constantly reminding her of the rules. But once she knows where she is, she's a shark. So yeah, I think I've won one set of rummy against her, or gin, I think we're playing. So Manta says, "I'm trying to get my gumption back. I kind of shelled up a bit, just my antennas are out." I can understand that. I can understand that completely. Sometimes we need to take a break. Sometimes we need to just let ourselves be. So stand up straight with your shoulders back, and you'll get that serotonin flowing. And then you'll be a confident lobster. You see my little lobster there? So, all right, we are on page 96. What you want and what you see. So remember, this is worth repeating. What you aim at determines what you see. So the dependency of sight on aim and therefore on value, because you aim at what you value, was demonstrated unforgettably by the cognitive psychologist Daniel Simons more than 15 years ago. And there's a footnote number 72. Simons was investigating something called sustained inattentional blindness. He would sit his research subjects in front of a video monitor and show them, for example, a field of wheat. Then he would transform the photos slowly, secretly, while they watched. He would slowly fade into a road cutting through the wheat. He didn't insert some little easy-to-miss footpath either. It was a major trail occupying a good third of the image. Remarkably, the observers would frequently fail to take notice. I got to look these experiments up. That is fascinating. The demonstration that made Dr. Simons famous was of the same kind but more dramatic, even unbelievable. First, he produced a video of 2 teams of 3 people. One team was wearing white shirts, the other black. The 2 teams were not off in the distance either, or in any way difficult to see. The 6 of them filled as much as the video screen, and their facial features were close enough to see clearly. Each of the team had their own ball, I know this experiment now, which they bounced or threw at their other team members as they moved or fainted in the small space in front of the elevators where the game was filmed. Once Dan had his video, he showed it to his study participants. He asked each of them to count the number of times the white shirts threw the ball back and forth to one another. After a few minutes, his subjects were asked to report the number of passes. Most answered 15. That was the correct answer. Most felt pretty good about that. Ha! They passed the test. But then Dr. Simons asked, "Did you see the gorilla? Was this a joke? What gorilla?" So he said, "Watch the video again. But this time, don't count." Sure enough, a minute or 2 in, a man dressed in a gorilla suit waltzes right into the middle of the game for a few seconds long, stops, beats his chest in the manner stereotypical of gorillas everywhere, right in the middle of the screen, large as life. Painfully, irrefutably evident, but 1 out of every 2 of his research subjects missed it completely the first time they saw the video. Then it gets worse. Dr. Simons did another study. This time he showed his subjects a video of someone being observed at a computer. The server dips behind the counter to retrieve something and pops back up. So what? Most of his participants didn't detect anything amiss. But it was a different person who stood up than the original server. No way, you think. I'd notice. But it's yes way. There's a high probability you wouldn't detect the change even if the gender or race of the person is switched at the same time. We're all blind. So let me see if I can find this. I'll put it up for you guys. The gorilla experiment. Oh, let's go to YouTube. Gorilla basketball video. Here it is. All right, this is it's called the Selective Attention Test. Yep, Daniel Simons. It's right here on his channel. He has his own channel. Go away. So let me share this with you. Share screen. Share screen. All right, so here we go.
This is a test of selective attention. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
So this is what the research study subjects would watch. So they're paying attention to the basketball. There he is. And people would fail to notice that.
How many passes did you count? The correct answer is 15 passes. But did you see the gorilla?
Yep, 15. And there's the gorilla. Now there's a bit of a camouflage
This video
chick.
is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris and is copyrighted. It is available.
Oh, I hope I don't get a copy strike for that.
On DVDs from BizCog Productions.
I don't think it will because
Learn more at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
But I want to point out something here. There's a bit of a camouflage trick that he's doing. If you see here, there's the guy in the gorilla suit, but there's also somebody in black from head to toe. Two people in black from head to toe with black hair. So it's easy to confuse one for the other. So there is a slight camouflage going on there. But the fact that the gorilla comes into the center of the circle beats its chest. And people, you didn't see the gorilla, Jason? Yeah, the S's on the wall mean nothing, but you didn't. Yeah, that's what happens. If you're what you look at is what you're aiming for is what you see, and you'll miss anything that isn't a part of that, what you're aiming at. If you're aiming at counting how many times the ball is passed, you're not paying attention to anything but the passing of the ball, and so you miss the gorilla. And so that's the selective attention test. And I just think it's the coolest thing in the world. So, and that's what he's talking about here. That's what Jordan's talking about here. That was wild. Yeah. Isn't it funny to know that that's how our brains work, that we miss something that obvious right in front of our faces? So how much do we miss every single day? How much do we not see every single day because we're paying attention to something? So I would love for that test to be done on people with ADHD and see how it goes, because there's the ability to hyperfocus in ADHD, but then there's also the ability to be distracted in ADHD. So if Jason says, I'm smiling from ear to ear. Yeah. And that it's just the most bizarre thing in the world, that's how we think we're seeing what we're seeing, but we don't. We're seeing what we're paying attention to and nothing else. So yeah, I think that's just absolutely wild. So it gets worse. Dr. Simons did another study. This time he showed his subjects a video of someone being served at the counter. So even if the race and gender of the person is switched at the same time, we won't notice. So we're all blind. This is partially because vision is expensive, psychosociologically expensive, neurologically expensive. Very little of your retina is high resolution fovea, the very central high resolution part of the eye used to do such things as identify faces. Each of these scarce foveal cells needs 10,000 cells in the visual cortex, which is at the back of the head, merely to manage the first part of the multi-stage process of seeing. Then each of those 10,000 requires 10,000 more just to get to stage 2. If all of your retina fovea was required, you would see the skull of a B-movie alien. If all of your retina was fovea, you would require the skull of a B-movie alien to house your brain. In consequence, we triage when we see. Most of our vision is peripheral and low resolution. We save the fovea for things that are important. We point out high resolution capacities at the few specific things we are aiming at, and we let everything else, which is almost everything, fade unnoticed into the background. So yeah, at your peripheral vision, it's low resolution, so you don't see things in focus, but you'll notice things like movement and changes of shadow. Yeah, that meme of the giant brain going, that's the type of brain you would need to have, is that alien type massive brain if we were to have vision that accurate all the way around. So yeah, the really nitty gritty sort of vision that you get in the front, that you get when you focus on something, that stuff, we do it in stages. We triage it. And that way, we don't have to have such giant brains, or at least giant vision centers in our brains. So if something you're not attending to pops up its ugly head in a manner that directly interferes with your narrowly focused current activity, you will see it. Otherwise, it's just not there. The ball on which Simon's research subjects were focused was never obscured by the gorilla or by any of the 6 players. I don't know about that. But he says because of that, because the gorilla did not interfere with the ongoing, narrowly defined task, it was indistinguishable from everything else the participants didn't see when they were looking at that ball. The big ape could be safely ignored. That's how you deal with the overwhelming complexity of the world. You ignore it, while you concentrate minutely on your private concerns. You see things that facilitate your movement forward towards your desired goals. You detect obstacles when they pop up in your path. You're blind to everything else. And there's a lot of everything else. So you're very blind. And it has to be that way because there is much more of the world than there is of you. You must shepherd your limited resources carefully. Seeing is very difficult, so you must choose what to see and let the rest go. There's a profound idea in the ancient Vedic texts, the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. Oh, I love this. I know what he's talking about. The oldest scriptures of Hinduism and part of the bedrock of Indian culture. The world as perceived is Maya, appearance or illusion. This means, in part, that people are blinded by their desires, literally, as well as merely incapable of seeing things as they truly are. This is true in the sense that transcends the metaphorical. Your eyes are tools. They are there to help you get you what you want. The price you pay for that utility, that specific focused direction, is blindness to everything else. This doesn't matter so much when things are going well and we're getting what we want, although it can be a problem even then, because getting what we currently want can make us blind to higher callings. But all that ignored world presents a truly terrible problem when we're in crisis and nothing whatsoever is turning out the way we want it to. Then there can be far too much to deal with. Happily, however, that problem contains within itself the seeds of its own solution. Since you've ignored so much, there is plenty of possibility left where you have not looked. Isn't that cool? There's another part of the ancient Vedic text. It's in the Mahabharata, which is one of the holy books of Hinduism, where Shiva takes the 7 brothers and asks them to aim an arrow at a bird. And he says, what do you see? And, one of them says, oh, I see the sky, I see the feathers, I see the blah, blah, blah. And he goes through all of them. And finally he comes to, can't remember the name. And he says, what do you see? And he says, I only see the eye. What eye? The eye of the bird. That's all I see. All I see is the eye. And Shiva says, fire the arrow. And the arrow goes right through the eye. And so there's this idea that when you can hyper focus like that, your aim is perfect. But everything else in the world disappears. Everything else disappears. And so it's one of those things. It's a balancing act. You can get exactly what you're aiming at, but you got to be careful about what you're aiming at, and you also got to be careful about what you're ignoring. So, Wandering Mantis, there's a great. I'll try and find it. There was a great PBS production of the Madhataraba that was. It was so simple. And so beautiful and so moving. And if you've ever seen the magazine Parabola, they often advertise it in there. But I'll see if I can get it to you. And yeah, it's a moving play done about the Madhataraba. And yeah, I saw that scene, I think, when I was like in 5th grade or something like that, and I've never forgotten it. So. All right, now, going back to sight. Imagine that you're unhappy. You're not getting what you need. Perversely, this may be because of what you want. You are blind because of what you desire. Perhaps what you really need is right in front of your eyes, but you cannot see it because of what you are currently aiming for. And that brings us to something else, the price that must be paid before you or anyone can get what they want, or better yet, what they need. Think about it this way. You look at the world in your particular idiosyncratic manner. You use a set of tools to screen most things out and let some things in. You have spent a lot of time building these tools. They've become habitual. They're not mere abstract thoughts. They're built right into you. They orient you in the world. They're your deepest and often implicit unconscious values. They've become part of your biological structure. They're alive. And they don't want to disappear, transform, or die. But sometimes their time has come and new things need to be born. For this reason, although not only for this reason, it is necessary to let things go during the journey uphill. If things are not going well for you, well, that may be because, as the most cynical of aphorisms has it, life sucks and then you die. But your crisis impels you to that hideous conclusion. However, you might consider the following. Life doesn't have the problem. You do. At least that realization leaves you with some options. If your life is not going well, perhaps it is your current knowledge that is insufficient, not life itself. Perhaps your value structure needs some serious retooling. Perhaps what you want is blinding you to what else could be. Perhaps you are holding on to your desires in the present so tightly that you cannot see anything else, even what you truly need. That is huge. Okay, Kevin Evans says, I don't know what that means, Jason. Dev shot Shiva in his third eye. That's something I'm not familiar with. Okie Kevin Edwards says, aim small, miss small. Mel Gibson in The Patriot shot at a red coat's button, and if you miss, you still get them. Exactly. So, but this is what I love, is that, if life is miserable, it may not be life. It may be us. It may be what we're trying to get, what we have all of our attention focused on, that we're missing the bigger picture of everything else and what could help us, might be right in front of our face, like the gorilla, might be right in front of our face, but we can't see it because we're so focused over here. So, oh, good. Jason's explaining. As an example, in Shiva Purana, there's a story where Shiva burns Kadev to ash by opening his third eye. This happens when Kadev shoots an arrow of desire on Shiva to arouse affection in him. Ah, yes, I remember that for Pavati. Yes, okay, that's coming back to me now. That's coming back to me now. I love that you know that, Jason. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, yeah. And if you guys notice that I'm a little bit shaky right now, it's because of all the prednisone that I'm on. I'm still dealing with these hives, but I'm doing better, and it was the stress, not the tobacco, thank God. I probably shouldn't thank God for that, but, you know, it is what it is. So imagine that you are thinking enviously, I should have my boss's job. If your boss sticks to his post stubbornly and competently, thoughts like that will lead you into a state of irritation, unhappiness, and disgust. You might realize this. You think, I am unhappy. However, I could be cured of this unhappiness if I could just fulfill my ambition. But then you may think further. Wait, you think, maybe I'm not unhappy because I don't have my boss's job. Maybe I'm unhappy because I can't stop wanting that job. That doesn't mean you can simply magically tell yourself to stop wanting that job and then listen and transform. You won't and can't in fact just change yourself that easily. You have to dig deeper. You must change what you are after most profoundly. I think that's the point, Shaman. Don't hate your life. Maybe hate the way you are living it and then change it. And that's what he's saying here. But it's not so easy to change that, you know? It's not so easy to change what we want, especially if we don't understand what it is that we're wanting or why we're wanting it. So you just might think, I don't know what to do about this stupid suffering. I can't just abandon my ambitions. That would leave me with nowhere to go. But my longing for a job that I can't have isn't working. You might decide to take a different tack. You might ask instead for the revelation of a different plan, one that would fulfill your desires and gratify your ambitions in a real sense, but that would remove from your life the bitterness and resentment with which you are currently affected. You might think, I will make a different plan. I will try to want whatever it is that would make my life better, whatever that might be, and I will start working on it now. If it turns out to mean that something other than chasing my boss's job, I will accept that and I will move forward. Now, this is something that I struggled with for decades. Because of my chronic pain problem and my high ambition. I wanted to do things, but I was in no way reliable enough to do them. And so I had to want getting better, but there was no way for me to get better. Even if I had pain control, I didn't always have the stress control that I needed to be able to manage doing a full-time job or even a part-time job. And so I kept seeing myself as stymied and useless. I couldn't see the things in front of me that would allow me to fulfill my ambition and my drive and things like that, wanting to do good in the world, wanting to do something that gave me a sense of accomplishment, that kind of thing. And it took just so long, and I was in deep despair about it, because I really, I thought I was looking at different avenues to try and fulfill that ambition, and it just wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere. And it wasn't until later that I realized being stymied in my ambition was actually a lesson that I needed to learn, so that I could understand what people felt like who were stuck, like I was stuck. And that sometimes it's just a matter of waiting things out and being patient, waiting for things to change, waiting for opportunities, waiting for the seed to grow. Plant a seed and waiting for it to grow. You can't get the crop by just sticking it in the ground. This isn't a video game. This is life. And so, having the patience to endure the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, instead of trying to take up a sea of arms and by opposing end them, that sort of thing from Hamlet. It's a struggle. The struggle is real. And being able to be at peace in not being able to have what it is that you want, or even what it is that you need, that was a lesson that I needed to learn. And after I learned that lesson, I actually could expand my sight as to what was available to me as far as opportunities went. And now the opportunities have come through, and I am doing things that, would have solved my ambition problem had they showed up a decade ago. But I didn't have all the tools in place. I wouldn't have the same sort of maturity that I have about it now if I had just gotten it directly back then. So it's amazing how things work out like that sometimes. So now you're on a whole different trajectory. And I can truly say my life is on a whole different trajectory. Before, what was right, desirable, and worthy of pursuit was something narrow and concrete, but you became stuck there, tightly jammed and unhappy. So you let go. That's exactly what I did. You make the necessary sacrifice and allow a whole new world of possibility hidden from you because of your previous ambition to reveal itself. That's exactly what happened. And there's a lot there. What would your life look like if it were better? What would life itself look like? What does better even mean? You don't know. And it doesn't matter that you don't know exactly right away, because you will start to slowly see what is better once you have truly decided to want it. You will start to perceive what remained hidden from you by your presuppositions and preconceptions, by the previous mechanisms of your vision. You will begin to learn. And I'm going to add in here, you will begin to see. This will only work, however, if you genuinely want your life to improve. You can't fool your implicit perceptual structures, not even a bit. They aim where you point them. To retool, to take stock, to aim somewhere better, you have to think it through bottom to top. You have to scour your psyche. You have to clean the damn thing up. And you must be cautious, because making your life better means adopting a lot of responsibility, and that takes more effort and care than living stupidly in pain and remaining arrogant, deceitful, and resentful. Which is very true. What if it was the case that the world revealed whatever goodness it contains in the precise proportion to your desire for the best? That's interesting. What if the more your conception of the best has been elevated, expanded, and rendered sophisticated, the more possibility and benefit you could perceive. This doesn't mean that you can have what you want merely by wishing it, or that everything is an interpretation, or that there is no reality. The world is still there with its structures and limits. As you move along with it, it cooperates or objects, but you can dance with it. If your aim is to dance, and maybe you can even lead if you have enough skill and enough grace. This is not theology. It's not mysticism. It's empirical knowledge. There is nothing magical here, or nothing more than the already present magic of consciousness. Because consciousness is pretty magical. We only see what we aim at. The rest of the world, and that's most of it, is hidden. If we start aiming at something different, something like, I want my life to be better, our minds will start presenting us with new information derived from the previously hidden world to aid us in that pursuit. Then we can put that information to use and move and act and observe and improve. And after doing so, after improving, we might pursue something different or higher. Something like, I want whatever might be better than just my life being better. And then we enter into a more elevated and more complete reality. In that place, what might we focus on? What might we see? Think about it like this. Start from the observation that we indeed desire things, even that we need them. That's human nature. We share the experience of hunger, loneliness, thirst, sexual desire, aggression, fear, and pain. Such things are elements of being, primordial, axiomatic elements of being. But we must sort and organize these primordial desires because the world is a complex and obstinately real place. We can't just get the one particular thing we especially want just now, along with everything else we usually want, because our desires can produce conflict with our other desires, as well as with other people and with the world. Thus, we must become conscious of our desires and articulate them and prioritize them and arrange them into hierarchies. That makes them sophisticated. That makes them work with each other. And with the desires of other people, with the world, it is in that manner that our desires elevate themselves. It is in that manner that they organize themselves into values and become moral. Our values, our morality, they are indications of our sophistication. The philosophical study of morality, of right and wrong, is ethics. Such study can render us more sophisticated in our choices. Even older and deeper in ethics, however, is religion. Religion concerns itself not with mere right and wrong, but with the good and evil themselves, with the archetypes of right and wrong. Religion concerns itself with the domain of value, ultimate value. That is not the scientific domain. It is not the territory of empirical description. The people who wrote and edited the Bible, for example, weren't scientists. They couldn't have been scientists even if they had wanted to be. The viewpoints, methods, and practices of science hadn't been formulated when the Bible was written. It took about 1,500 years to come up with that stuff. Survival says some people to have more of the havingness quality than others. Logic says 100%. Can you explain that, Survival? The havingness quality? That sounds fascinating, and I have no idea what it means. but I would like to hear that. And I don't want to go further in the book if it has to do with the previous section. So I'm going to take a quick, brief break to take a smoke off my pipe and let you type. Is that having stuff and things, or is that having chutzpah, moxie, gravitas, things like that? Is it that having this quality? I wonder. So we are on page 102. And I will go forward a little bit and let survival get back to that. Religion instead is about proper behavior. It's about what Plato called the good with a capital G. A genuine religious acolyte isn't trying to formulate accurate ideas about the objective nature of the world, although he may be trying to do that too. He's striving instead to be a good person. It may be the case to him that good means nothing more but obedient, even blindly obedient. Okay, we've got an explanation here. It's like being able to envision yourself in a place in the future and believe you deserve it. Some people can't do that. Yes. Okay, we're going to pause on this. Believing that you deserve it. That is important. That's very important. And I do think that you're correct in pointing it out, that this is something that Jordan kind of skips over. And survival continues. Just for example, some people can't imagine themselves being successful in their futures. Well, I would say then that it depends on how you define success. You know, if you're talking about monetary success and things like that, yeah, a lot of people have a hard time seeing themselves as high status people, you know, like, but at the same time, we have to look at our desires and go, well, is that what we really want? I'll tell you about when I found out that I couldn't have children. I had gotten a call from the doctor and the tests had come back. And because of my pituitary disorder, she said, children aren't going to be part of the picture. Now, ever since I was a little kid, and very much by the time I was 15, my family used to call me the Pied Piper, because when we would go for our family vacations, it was 2 weeks and all the families got together up in this little town in Michigan. And I would take care of all the little kids, you know, I was 15, so their ages were like 10 to newborn. And they would follow me around the whole area. And so they called me the Pied Piper because I was always this trail of kids behind me. And what I generally do is I'd have the youngest next to me and then go up in age so that the next oldest kid was bringing up the rear to watch over all the other ones. And we'd go and we'd play games and I'd teach them dances. And we did this one thing where I taught them a dance routine, and it was 15 minutes of practice and then 15 minutes of play. And at the beginning, they were very, very resistant to the 15 minutes of practice, and they just wanted to do the 15 minutes of play. But because I had them resting in between, we'd go back and we'd practice, and they'd get better at it, to where at the end of the afternoon, they wanted to do the 15 minutes of practice and not play at all as their competence grew. And I told them, nope, we're still going to do 15 minutes of play. You've got to relax. You've got to, and we put on a show. And so it was, this is 6, 7, and 8-year-olds doing a Broadway routine. And they videotaped it. They loved it. They thought it was fantastic. I got accolades from all the families, things like that. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a mom. That's all I wanted to do with my life ever since I was a little kid, was be a mom. And then Survival says, I was the pie-eyed piper. That's funny. So, but then, when it became, time for me to get married and have children, 25 to 30, I was 29. No, I think I was 30 at the time because I'd already been sick for a while. I got the phone call and I was told that in no uncertain terms would I ever have children. And I fell to my knees and I felt two things. I felt despair and relief. And the relief surprised me. I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting myself under in my desire to be a mom, because you're on a timetable as a woman. You need to get married. You need to find a suitable husband, that's going to be a good father. So you're not left doing it all. There's all these things that you have to work out in order to have a family. And I was stressing about all of them unconsciously. And when I found out that I couldn't have children, all of that went away. And there was despair that it went away, but there was also stress relief. And I couldn't believe it. And I knew that I had to put my life on a completely different trajectory. I'm not going to read that out loud. I'll pull it on the screen. But oh my gosh, that's too funny. But yeah, now that the pressure was off and I had almost limitless options to do with my life, as long as it wasn't be a mom naturally from my own body. I could be a stepmom, I could be a foster mom. There were still options available for being a mom, but everything changed in that moment. And I didn't realize that I would feel relief when that happened. I turned my book upside down. So the idea, going back to what Survival was talking about earlier, some people can't ever imagine themselves being successful in their futures. It depends on what kind of success we're looking at. And it may be that success is not an idea that's come from us, it's come from society. And that we really, really need to examine what our own desires are about what would make us happy. Is it being a parent? Is it being in a high status job? Is it being famous? Is it being needed and wanted? What is it that we value that we need to aim for? So it's not easy. It's not easy to think about this stuff. But yeah. Oh, Lemon Pepper. Hey, good to see you. I missed you. You snuck in there while I was looking at other comments. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And there go my toes again. Oh, they're doing a funny thing. All right. So, but yeah, success is tricky. And I think it's important that he says that it's not, aiming for success, but it's just aiming to make your life better at first. You're not aiming for success at first. You're aiming for, just what would make my life better. So that I think is kind of key to the whole thing. So You may think, I will make a different plan. I will try to want whatever it is that would make my life better. I was just saying that. Whatever that might be, I will start working on it now. If that turns out to mean something other than chasing my boss's job, then I will accept it and move forward. So, hey, Lemon Pepper, good to see you. All right. We were in This Is Not Theology, It's Not Mysticism. All right. No, I went back a page. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, so we're on page 102. You cannot aim yourself at anything if you are completely undisciplined and untutored. You will not know what to target, and you won't fly straight even if you somehow get your aim right. And then you'll conclude there is nothing to aim for, and you will be lost. It is therefore necessary and desirable for religions to have a dogmatic element. What good is a value system that does not provide a stable structure? What good is a value system that does not point out a way to higher order? And what can you possibly be if you cannot or do not internalize that structure or accept that order, not as a final determination necessary, but at least as a starting point? Without that, you're nothing but an adult 2-year-old without the charm or the potential. That is not to say, or to say again, that obedience is sufficient. But a person capable of obedience, let's say instead, a properly disciplined person is at least a well-forged tool. And at least that, and it is not nothing. Of course, there must be vision beyond discipline, beyond dogma. A tool still needs a purpose. It is for such reasons that Christ said in the Gospel of Thomas, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, but men do not see it. Does that mean that what we see is dependent on our religious beliefs? Yes. And what we don't see as well. You might object, but I'm an atheist. No, you're not. And if you want to understand this, you could read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, perhaps the greatest novel ever written, in which the main character, Raskolnikov, decides to take his atheism with true seriousness, commits what he has rationalized as a benevolent murder, and pays the price. You're simply not an atheist in your actions, and it is your actions that most accurately reflect your deepest beliefs, those that are implicit, embedded in your being, underneath your conscious apprehensions and articulable attitudes and surface level self-knowledge. You can find out what you actually believe rather than what you think you believe by watching how you act. You simply don't know what you believe before that. You're too complex to understand yourself. So, Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov comes up with the perfect crime. Not just the perfect crime, but it's a good crime, a murder. And what Raskolnikov learns is that you are not the same person after the murder than you were before the murder. So all the rationalizations and everything like that fall to pieces once the action is taken. You can't hold on to the old you once you've done something like that. And the act of murder is something so severe. You never come back from it, ever. I mean, it's worse than losing your virginity. It changes you completely. And so that's what Crime and Punishment is all about. And I do recommend reading it. The Russian writers are just amazing. So
It takes careful observation, education, and reflection, and communication with others just to scratch the surface of your beliefs. Everything you value is a product of unimaginable, lengthy development processes, personal, cultural, and biological. You don't understand how what you want, and therefore what you see, is conditioned by the immense, abysmal, profound past. You simply don't understand how every neural circuit through which you peer at the world has been shaped, and painfully, by the ethical aims of millions of years of human ancestors and all of the life that was lived for over billions of years before that. You don't understand anything. You didn't even know you were blind. Damn, that's not in the book. I'm saying that. We don't understand anything. We don't understand ourselves. We don't understand consciousness. We don't understand the pressures that we're under. We don't understand the development that got us to the point where we are now. We don't understand anything. And we didn't even know we were blind. We're walking around here thinking that we're seeing things, hearing things, taking the world in as it is. We're not. And so how can we even start to think that we know what we know when we didn't know that we didn't know? You know? Mind blown. Mind blown. So, some of our knowledge and our beliefs has been documented. We have been watching ourselves act, reflecting on that watching, and telling stories distilled throughout that reflection for tens and perhaps hundreds of thousands of years. That is all part of our attempts, individual and collective, to discover and articulate what it is that we believe. Part of the knowledge so generated is what is encapsulated in the fundamental teachings of our culture, in ancient writings such as the Tao Te Ching, or the aforementioned Vedic scriptures, or the biblical stories. The Bible is, for better or worse, the foundational document of Western civilization, of Western values, of Western morality, and Western concepts of good and evil. It is the product of processes that remain fundamentally beyond our comprehension. The Bible is a library composed of many books, each written and edited by many people. It is a truly emergent document, a selected, sequenced, and finally coherent story written by no one and everyone over many thousands of years. Can you imagine working on a book for thousands of years? Survival says, that's pretty deep, Pam. I know, right? Matrix time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Shaman says, waking up from the dream we think we see. Precisely. Precisely. I love this chapter. We're having a good time here. So yeah, writing a book for thousands of years. That just, the Bible has been thrown up out of the deep by the collective human imagination, which is itself a product of unimaginable forces operating over unfathomable spans of time. Its careful, respective study can reveal things to us about what we believe and how we do and should act that can be discovered in almost no other manner. Whew. I had no idea how much this book would tie into the biblical series that we do on Saturday nights, but there it is. This is the connection. So we are on page 104, the Old Testament God and the New Testament God. The God of the Old Testament can appear harsh, judgmental, unpredictable, and dangerous, particularly on a cursory reading. The degree to which this is true has arguably been exaggerated by Christian commentators intent on magnifying the distinction between the older and newer divisions of the Bible. There has been a price paid, however, for such plotting, and I mean that in both senses of the word. The tendency for modern people to think when confronted with Jehovah, I would never believe in a God like that. But the Old Testament God doesn't much care what modern people think. He didn't often care what Old Testament people thought either, although he could be bargained with to a surprising degree, as is particularly evident in the Abrahamic stories. Nonetheless, when his people strayed from the path, when they disobeyed his injunctions, violated his covenants, and broke his commandments, trouble was certain to follow. If you did not do what the Old Testament God demanded, whatever that might have been, and however you might have tried to hide from it, you and your children and your children's children were in terrible, serious trouble. I don't know if you guys know the song Highway 61. God said to Abraham, kill me a son. Abe said, man, you must be putting me on. God said, no. Abe said, what? God said, you can do whatever you want, but next time you see me coming, you better run. Abe said, where do you want this killing done? God said, down on Highway 61. My mom and I were talking about this the other night. I think I said that. It was that, God warned the Jewish people constantly, no, don't let these other gods come in. No, don't worship other gods. No, don't, no. And they'd fall from the way. They fall from the path. And yes, bad stuff certainly followed. But it wasn't like, being turned into a pillar of salt sort of thing, although that is in there. It was more of what did you think was going to happen? Did you think that you'd be able to stay out partying all night and get a good night's sleep 3 hours and feel refreshed in the morning? That's a little, come on, guys. So, studying the biblical stories is really cool. It was realists who created or noticed Old Testament God. When the denizens of those ancient societies wandered carelessly down the wrong path, they ended up enslaved and miserable, sometimes for centuries, when they were not obliterated completely. Was that reasonable? Was that just? Was that fair? The authors of the Old Testament asked such questions with extreme caution and under very limited conditions. They assumed instead that the creator of being knew what he was doing, that all power was essentially with him, and that his dictates should be carefully followed. They were wise. He was a force of nature. God was a force of nature. Is a hungry lion reasonable, fair, or just? What kind of nonsensical question is that? The Old Testament Israelites and their forebears knew that God was not to be trifled with, and that whatever hell the angry deity might allow to be engendered if he was crossed was real. Having recently passed through a century defined by the bottomless horrors of Hitler, Stalin, and Mao, we might realize the same thing. New Testament God is often presented as a different character, although the book of Revelation with its final judgment warns against any excessively naive complacency. He is more the kindly Geppetto, master craftsman and benevolent father. Don't agree. He wants nothing for us but the best. He is all loving and all forgiving. That part's true. Sure, he'll send you to hell if you misbehave badly enough. That's actually not in the Bible. Fundamentally, however, he's the God of love. That seems more optimistic, more naively welcoming, but in precise proportion to that, less believable. All right, I'm going to break from this for a second because Jordan's theology isn't quite solid in this area. And if you want somebody who's a very good critic of Jordan Peterson when it comes to the biblical works and things like that, go look at Paul Vanderklay. He's done a lot of critique of Jordan's interpretations of the Bible, and he's somebody that whose opinion I highly value. And the idea of God being all loving and forgiving in the New Testament is, first off, the people in the New Testament didn't realize that they were going to be in the Bible. So you got to remember that. Second off, you got to remember that the Old Testament is the book that Jesus was teaching from. So the Old Testament God is present in the New Testament. Now, you also have to remember that and this is often mistaught in schools and stuff like that, where Survival says the band Dr. Dog has a cool song called Living Your Life in a Dream. That would be interesting. I'm going to look that up after this stream. Thank you very much. So where was I? Oh, a lot of people think, that Jesus just went through the land teaching, and then finally pissed people off badly enough that they then killed him. No, Jesus was constantly being hounded, constantly being run out of town, being threatened with being killed all the time. Oh, thank you, Survival. Awesome. He says he'll send it to me. Jesus's life, Jesus's ministry was not easy. I mean, they had just beheaded John the Baptist, when Jesus was starting his ministry. So this was not a time of forgiveness or anything like that. And if you read about, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before he's to be crucified, he's freaking out so bad he's sweating blood, which is an actual medical condition that exists. So awesome. Thank you, Survival. If anybody else wants it, there it is. And Jesus just asked just one of his disciples to stay awake with him. Just one. Just one. Can one of you guys not leave me alone the night before this terrible thing is going to happen that I have foretold? Can just one of you guys do this? I'm about to be given over to the police, an angry mob that's been trying to kill me for the last 3 years, and I just want one of you guys to stay awake and keep me company. They can't do it. They all fall asleep. So yeah, thank you for that, Survival. I appreciate it. So no, Jesus's life, the New Testament is not about it is about an all forgiving God, because it is the sacrifice of Jesus, the one who is without sin, that allows the rest of us to be redeemed. Our sin, it's the scapegoat. All of our sins fall onto Jesus. Jesus' sacrifice, having no fault of its own, and the two, the sin and the non-sin, kind of create this magic whereby everybody gets the benefit of being as though we have not sinned. We get the opportunity of redemption because he's willing to die in our place. And that ultimate sacrifice is something that is really carried forward in Western civilization. Us being willing to go to war in a conflict that is not ours because it's the right thing to do, because these guys are being oppressed, they're innocent, and we're going to protect them. That's what World War II was all about, that sort of thing. Not just stopping Hitler, but freeing and stopping the atrocities and things like that. And we are willing to die. We are innocent of these things. We have not committed these atrocities. These atrocities have not been committed against us, but we are willing to go and die in order to stop these evil things from happening and redeem the people. That is something that we carry into our moral code up into the present day. But that's a very harsh thing. It's like, yeah, you weren't involved in that. This has no part in of your life whatsoever. You're completely innocent, but go die. How is that an all-loving God? I just don't agree with Jordan on this. I think there's a lot of how the Bible has been taught, since it was around the 1970s when the church adopted this sort of, God loves you just the way you are sort of thing. That kind of doctrine started in the 70s. There was a whole psychological and theological movement that happened then with the New Age Christians, where you had the Andrew Lloyd Webber plays and Tim Rice plays, Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstar, that kind of thing. And it really, really watered down what is actually in the New Testament. And so a lot of people have sort of this hippie notion of the New Testament God that just is not in the New Testament at all. So I think Jordan got a little bit swept up in that, because if you get into the theology of it, that's not the way the book is written at all. So bless his heart, he's a product of his generation. But let's see if we can get to a good stopping point. Because we've only got 12 minutes. 12 minutes. So, fundamentally, however, he's the God of love. That seems more optimistic, more naively welcoming, but in precise proportion of that, less believable. In a world such as this hothouse of doom, who could buy such a story? Well, it's not the story, Jordan. So, of course people can't buy it because it's bull. That the all-good God in a post-Auschwitz world. It was for such reasons that the philosopher Nietzsche, perhaps the most astute critic ever to confront Christianity, considered the New Testament God the worst literary crime in Western history. In Beyond Good and Evil, he wrote, "In the Jewish Old Testament, the book of divine justice, there are men, things, and speeches on such a grand style that Greek and Indian literature has nothing to compare with it. One stands with fear and reverence before those stupendous remains of what man was formerly, and what has sad thoughts about old Asia in its little outpushed peninsula, Europe.
to have bound up this New Testament, a kind of rococo of taste in every respect, along with the Old Testament into the book as the Bible, as the book in itself, is perhaps the greatest audacity and sin against the spirit which literary Europe has on its conscience. So I guess it goes back further than the 70s if Nietzsche was writing about it. It may have been the whole idea of, well, we still have this with like the prosperity gospel and things like that. God wants to heal you. God wants, you to be whole in body and everything else. So I guess the idea is older than that. But if you read into the stories, it's, even though Jesus goes around healing people and forgiving people and stuff like that, it's showing a path of redemption. It's not showing. I just don't agree with Jordan's analysis on this, and who knows? I could be wrong, and I probably am, because he's probably thought about this a lot longer. But yeah, I just don't see it that way. So, who but the most naive among us could posit such an all-good, merciful being ruled this so terrible world? But that's part of it. That's part of what makes it so wonderful. I was talking to Greg Kelly about this, the real Greg Kelly, that I am a wretched creature. I am a monster. I have been a monster in my life. I have done horrible things. And if I'm not really, really careful, I continue to do horrible things. I lash out in rage. You guys would not be my friends if you knew me back when. You would want nothing to do with me. And I fully understand that. And I understand that that is still capable of the type of person that I could be. It's always there, lurking beneath the surface, and I need to guard against it all the time. I need to be very, especially being in chronic pain, and the type of stress and emotion that pain brings up and things like that. It's real easy to be real angry, real miserable, just a nasty character to be around. And I'm good at it. I'm good at being vicious, because I was raised in a pretty vicious family, as it were. So with that in mind, me being this awful, vicious creature, unlovable. I'll say that one more time. Unlovable. I mean, my entire family abandoned me, and with good reason. Why would God choose to redeem me? How could God decide that I am redeemable? That's huge. Something unlovable being redeemed and made lovable and forgiven for being unlovable. All of that. That is what the New Testament is about. It's not about, a goody two-shoes God makes a fallen world sort of thing. No, it's that his love is so great that it can overcome the absolute worst that we can be. And this is something that is profoundly important even today, especially when, dealing with people who are addicts or who have mental health problems or things like that there is still value there, divine value, that God would look upon and say, I still love you, broken, nasty as you are. You can be redeemed, all of that. Yeah, shaman, the gospel, the good word. That's the good word, is that no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we are still lovable
we are forgivable, we are redeemable. That is what is, it's something a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger love than just some goody two-shoes nonsense. You know what I mean? So, as much as Jordan has thought about this stuff, I think he misses the point. I really do. But, that can happen. It's easy to, and because we've seen it. I mean, if Nietzsche can make the same, one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, it's mega love. Yes, exactly. You got it, shaman or survival. It is mega love. It is love larger than we can even comprehend, and we know we don't deserve. We know we don't deserve that kind of love, but we get it anyway. And that is humbling. It's terrifying. It's all of those things. And that is what makes God so great. Is that we can be this wretched and he can still want us. Because the logical answer is just scrub us off the face of the planet. Etch a sketch the world. No, you screwed up enough. You're done. Starting over. But no, we have the chance to be redeemed. We have the chance to be made better. We have the chance to do better. All of that. It's mega love. 100% love. Not 99.9. 100%, and maybe even more. So, I think Jordan really misses the point here. But that's okay, because if Nietzsche misses the point too, I can't blame Jordan for being, far off as well. But we've only got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to start to wrap it up. I want to remind everybody who wasn't here earlier that we are going to do a birthday stream for Justice Catton, and that's going to be on the 23rd of February, and that is going to be at 5:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. So we will all join up, and hopefully we'll be able to get Justice on the stream so we can all see him and wish him a happy birthday. I'll put out the links and everything like that. And I guess we'll go for a couple of hours or however long we want to do. Yes, Justice is turning 22 years old. So what a great age. What a great age. And Mantis says, great show, Pam. Thank you so much. Of course, always. I'm happy to do this. I'm so happy to do this. I love spending this time with you guys. It's absolutely amazing. It's changed my life. You all have changed my life. Super mega love shout out. Pam fam, 100%. So yeah, put it in your calendars. The 23rd, that's Tuesday. And Justice will be turning 22 years old. You're very welcome for another fantastic show, Shaman. Thank you for showing up. I highly appreciate it. So yeah, we got 1 minute to go. And I mean, this was a great night. This was a great night. So we went over a lot of stuff. We had a lot of great discussion. We got a birthday party coming up. So, Shell says, I'm always learning from you, Pan. Thanks. Much love. Of course. And I'm learning from you guys too. I mean, the stuff that you put in the comments, it all adds to the synergy of what's going on here. And I think this is a beautiful thing. And I'm just, yeah.
yeah, you guys have changed my life, and I thank you for it because you've made it better. You've made my life better. So, but oh man, whew, it's such a beautiful, wonderful thing. I can't tell you guys enough. So, but yeah, great to see everybody here. And also remember, March 3rd, we'll be praying for made our life a little better too, Pam. Awesome. Jason, March 3rd is having his cardiology thing. So if you want to send up prayers on March 3rd that, you give his doctors the discernment to deal with whatever's going on with his heart, I know he'd appreciate that. So, all right. I will see you guys Saturday, and you all have a great night. Mwah.